evening. Counter-terrorism cooperation between India and its maritime neighbour Sri Lanka got a boost today, months after Sri Lanka was jolted by bombings on Easter Sunday earlier this year, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi announcing a fresh line of credit to help Sri Lanka build capacity in the realm of counter-terrorism. India also scaled up its developmental assistance to Sri Lanka with another line of credit for its development overall. And with the new Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in India within a fortnight of his assuming presidency, our in focus tonight is building ties with new dispensation in Sri Lanka. That and more in this edition of Newsnight. I'm Prasar. First up, the headlines. India announces line of credit worth $400 million for infrastructure and development in Sri Lanka. Expands support to Sri Lanka on counterterrorism front with a line of credit worth $50 million to help counterterrorism efforts after PM Modi holds talks with the visiting newly elected Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Delhi. Ruckus in Lok Sabha continued for the third day running over Pragya Thakur's comment. Pragya was forced to tender an unconditional apology to the House after Speaker Om Birla's intervention. Outrage over gang rape and murder of 27-year-old veterinary doctor in Hyderabad. 4 accused arrested to be produced before court on Saturday. Centre issues guidelines to states calling for greater vigil to prevent atrocities against women. Stage set for the first phase of polling on 13 assembly seats of 6 districts in Jharkhand tomorrow. Voting to take place from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav takes charge at Mantralaya, announces a stay on construction of RA Colony Metro Car Shed. BJP slams the decision. Devendra Fadnavis says that it will discourage investors and stall infrastructure projects in the city. Hallmarking to be mandatory for gold jewellery and artefacts from 2021. Consumer Affairs Minister Ramvilas Paswan says the government to issue a notification by 15th January 2020, non-compliance to lead to penal action. Armed police shoot a man brandishing a knife on London Bridge as a number of people are injured and crowds are seen running away from the scene. The incident comes 2.5 years after the 2017 terrorist attack on London Bridge, which saw 3 men kill 8 people and injure 48 others. India races to a 2-0 lead in the Davis Cup tie against Pakistan as Ramkumar Ramanathan and Sumit Nagal toy with their teen rivals from Pakistan. Our top focus tonight, India and Sri Lanka took counter-terrorism and development cooperation forward, with India announcing 2 new lines of credit, one of $400 million for infrastructure and development in the island nation, and the other of $50 million to help Sri Lanka build capacity in counter-terrorism. The newly elected Sri Lankan president announced that his country would set free boats of fishermen in its custody. Here's a look at the takeaways from talks between PM Modi and Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Delhi during what is his first overseas visit since assuming presidency recently.
A warm handshake between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and newly elected Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Delhi, marking their first meeting since Sri Lankan presidential elections this month. At the meeting, Prime Minister Modi underlined the importance of a stable, secure and prosperous Sri Lanka for India and the Indian Ocean region as a whole.
मेरी सरकार की नेबरहुड फर्स्ट नीति और सागर डॉक्ट्रिन के अनुरूप हम श्रीलंका के साथ अपने संबंधों को प्राथमिकता देते हैं। हमारे दोनों देशों की सुरक्षा और विकास अविभाज्य है और इसलिए यह स्वाभाविक है कि हम एक दूसरे की सुरक्षा और संवेदनशीलताओं के प्रति सचेत रहें।
While referring to his visit to Sri Lanka immediately after assuming office for a second term, Prime Minister said that the purpose of his visit then was to express India's unstinted support to the island nation jolted by Easter Sunday bombings in its fight against terrorism. Prime Minister announced a line of credit of $50 million to further help Sri Lanka combat terrorism.
आपसी सुरक्षा के लिए और आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध हमारे सहयोग को और मजबूत करने पर मैंने राष्ट्रपति राजपक्ष के साथ विस्तार से चर्चा की है। प्रमुख भारतीय संस्थानों में श्रीलंका के पुलिस अधिकारी काउंटर टेररिस्ट ट्रेनिंग का लाभ पहले से ही प्राप्त कर रहे हैं। आतंकवाद से निपटने के लिए श्रीलंका को $50 मिलियन की एक विशेष लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट की घोषणा करते हुए मुझे खुशी हो रही है।
Prime Minister Modi urged the government of Sri Lanka to fulfill the legitimate aspirations of the Tamil minorities and carry forward the reconciliation process, including the implementation of the 13th Amendment.
मुझे विश्वास है कि श्रीलंका सरकार तमिलों की समानता, न्याय, शांति और सम्मान की आकांक्षाओं को पूरा करने के लिए रिकंसिलिएशन की प्रक्रिया को आगे बढ़ाएगी। इसमें 13वां अमेंडमेंट, 13th अमेंडमेंट को लागू करना भी शामिल है।
While Prime Minister spoke on how the two neighbors have agreed to approach the issue of livelihood of fishermen with a constructive and humanitarian perspective, the Sri Lankan leader announced the release of all boats of Indian fishermen in the island nation's custody.
We discussed in length the fishermen's issue and will take steps to release the boats belong to India in our custody.
The visit of the Sri Lankan president is helping boost development cooperation between the two countries. India has announced a line of credit of $400 million for infrastructure and development projects in Sri Lanka. India has already constructed 46,000 houses for the internally displaced in eastern and northern provinces. It is also constructing 14,000 houses for Indian origin Tamils in the country region. India and Sri Lanka have also agreed on early utilization of the $100 million line of credit announced by India earlier for solar projects in the island nation. Earlier in the day, Gotabaya Rajapaksa received a ceremonial reception at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan with a 21-gun salute. Where he was received by President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He then paid his respects to Bapu at Rajghat. The Sri Lankan president is on a 3-day visit to India, his first overseas visit since assuming presidency. With Abhishek Jha and Arun Sharma in New Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD News.
So that's what transpired after talks took place between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the newly elected visited Sri Lankan president to India. And let's take a look now at why this visit of the newly elected Sri Lankan president is important. Well, this is Rajapaksa's first port of call. It's the first overseas visit since assuming presidency to any country, and he's chosen India for his first port of call. Rajapaksa's first port of call and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar visited Colombo on the 19th of November, inviting him to visit India. That was a day after Mr. Rajapaksa was sworn in as the Sri Lankan president, and so he was the first to extend an invitation to the new Sri Lankan president to visit India. He was the first foreign dignitary to call on the newly elected Sri Lankan president as well. Rajapaksa invited PM to visit Sri Lanka as the first head of government post-election, and that is how this visit of the newly elected Sri Lankan president to India has come about. Now, here's a look at the various facets of cooperation between India and Sri Lanka, development cooperation being a major pillar of bilateral ties because implementation of developmental assistance projects is taking place at a good pace. Sri Lanka is a major recipient of development assistance from India, and there is quite a lot of that assistance that India is giving to Sri Lanka. We'll tell you about the quantum of that. Also, it stands close to $3 billion US, the overall development cooperation assistance that India has committed so far to the island nation. Indian Housing Project is India's flagship project for Sri Lanka. Under it, Around 50,000 houses are being built, around 45 to 46,000 of them are already completed. Indian housing project for war-affected and estate workers. So India is building those houses for the war-affected and the tea estate workers and also the rubber plantation workers there. India is financing the project with a grant of 1,372 crore rupees. This is about the Indian housing project, which is a flagship project insofar as cooperation between India and Sri Lanka is concerned from the Indian side. Sri Lanka is one of India's largest trading partners in SAARC, and that is why the economic cooperation element in this relationship becomes very important. And for Sri Lanka, India is one of the largest trading partners. In 2000, an FTA, that is a free trade agreement between India and Sri Lanka, had come into force, and since then there was a spike in bilateral trade between India and Sri Lanka. Bilateral trade in 2018 stands at $4.93 billion. India as well as Sri Lanka are now trying to reach a CEPA, or a Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, that is yet to be finalized. Remains to be seen when and if that is finalized. Security cooperation is another important element in the India-Sri Lanka partnership. Joint military and naval exercises are being held regularly between the two sides. These are military as well as naval exercises, like we told you about. India is providing defense training to Sri Lankan forces. A reference to that, in fact, was made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his joint press statement when he spoke about how various Sri Lankan Defence Force personnel are actually training in premier institutions in India. Trilateral Maritime Security Pact between India, Sri Lanka and Maldives was also signed, and that is why this cooperation, which is security in nature, is not just bilateral but is also trilateral. Pact on surveillance, anti-piracy operations, reducing maritime pollution. So these were the three key aspects of the trilateral security pact, which is in the maritime realm, that was signed between India, Sri Lanka as well as Maldives. Agreement to counter drug and human trafficking was signed in April 2019, that is in this very year, and this is also an important part of security cooperation between India and Sri Lanka. India provided specific intelligence inputs ahead of Easter bombings. This is extremely important because India had provided those specific intelligence inputs on which the Sri Lankan leadership then could not act, and those were basically the major facets of the relationship between India and Sri Lanka. We'll take a break at this point in time. After the break, we'll discuss the importance of the visit of the newly elected Sri Lankan president to India. Stay tuned.
सोमवार से शुक्रवार सुबह 9 बजे और रात 9:30 बजे सिर्फ टीवी न्यूज पर।
Welcome back. You're watching Newsnight. Our in focus tonight is building ties with the new dispensation in Sri Lanka. To discuss that, we have with us in the studio G. Prasar Bharati. He's a former diplomat, needs no introduction, and Alok Bansal, strategic affairs analyst, is also with us. I welcome you both to Newsnight. I'll begin with you, Ambassador Prasar Bharati. We know that the newly elected Sri Lankan president has made India his first port of call. This was the case even with Maithripala Sirisena in the past, as well as with Ranil Wickremesinghe. What should one make of the warmth in ties that we are seeing presently?
Look, Maithripala Sirisena was a fortunate choice of circumstances when two political parties, one leftist, one rightist, united, and just to keep the Rajapakshas out of power. That didn't work. And in fact, when the agreement was signed on Colombo port, all sorts of queries were raised by Sirisena with regard to us building a container terminal there.
Yes.
The case of the Rajapakshas, they are very clear about the power they wield. They fought a bloody ethnic conflict with excesses on both sides. And but I think by and large, we succeeded in getting the Tamils a better deal than they had before the conflict started. Right now, the concerns are different. We do We've done a lot for rehabilitation of Tamils.
Yes.
I mean, unprecedented house buildings for those displaced. Not just for the Sri Lankan Tamils or the Jaffna Tamils as they are known in the north, but also for the Indian Tamils. They are called Indian Tamils because their parents or grandparents went there during British rule.
They're Tamils of Indian origin.
Yes,
Yeah.
more or less.
Plantation.
The plantation Tamils as they are known. Now, the fact of the matter is, we are carrying that process forward. And on a larger perspective with Sri Lanka, we have now, I think, devised new ways to go about it. One is, it's no point trying to match the Chinese in terms of the money we spend, and therefore we are doing this in collaboration. For example, in the Sri Lankan port container terminal, in collaboration with Japan.
Japan, yeah.
So we have now devised a sound policy. You have agreed to $400 million for future economic projects, another $100 million.
That's for the solar projects that was announced in the
For the
past,
solar
another
projects,
50 million for the
But I
counter-terrorism
think
projects. Yeah.
there's one thing we should remember, and I think I don't mind saying it on Doordarshan, that the Chinese have a reputation for getting things done in time. Whereas if you take the Indian track record in Myanmar, we've always fallen behind schedule. But we've done a good job in Sri Lanka. What is important is to deliver on time without whatever the problems. I think that is going to come. We've built bridges with Mr. Rajapaksa and the family. Don't forget one thing on Hambantota port, which there is a lot of interest because the Chinese have taken it over.
Yes.
Hambantota is the constituency of the Rajapaksa family. So they had a sort of desperate interest to do all this quickly, and they landed in trouble. They themselves have admitted it, and they are now going to review the Hambantota port.
Absolutely.
So go ahead with the economic assistance. Go ahead with old port projects like Trincomalee, which is strategic, and we are committed to building it. And keep in touch with the Tamil population because of the Tamil Nadu factor there. I think we are on a very good wicket now. It's a strong government, and in fact, we should ensure to explain to the Americans and the Europeans that cutting off aid and isolating them is not useful. It gives an open house to the Chinese to move in. So there's a lot of scope for diplomacy. I think the Sri Lankans understand it, and it's a friendly country. And one final thing is they're a very devout Buddhist people, and we would do well if we improved our tourist facilities, especially in the Buddhist pilgrimage sites in India, which is not of international
delegations
standards.
of Sri Lankan security forces were brought in to Bodh Gaya in the past. So we have reached out even in that context.
We've reached out,
Yeah.
but still just not from Sri Lanka. We have to acknowledge that in Buddhist religious sites, the tourism facilities we have are not of international standards, and we can earn billions, on this. And Sri Lanka would be. The Sri Lankans have spoken about it.
Yeah.
So I think we can do it. The other thing is they are very keen. Is last year because of this Easter Sunday attack,
Yeah.
the number of Indian tourists fell, and Indian tourists are quite popular because they know how to enjoy the Sri Lankan environment.
Absolutely.
Revive tourism.
Yeah, you've given a broad overview of the ties as they stand between India and Sri Lanka. Alok Bansal, what are your impressions of the Rajapaksas, considering that they have their own track record since they've ruled in the past? The newly elected president was a defense secretary between 2005 and 2015. His elder brother, Mahinda Rajapaksa, is now the prime minister. His elder brother had ruled between 2005 and 2015 as the Sri Lankan president. And now the newly elected president is talking about being equidistant from various countries, meaning India and China.
Actually, when we say that Rajapakshas have been ruling Sri Lanka for a long time, we tend to overlook that before he became president in 2005, Mahinda Rajapaksa was also the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So they have been in various echelons of power for a very, very long period of time. The fact is, both the Rajapaksa brothers, Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was then the president, and President Gotabaya, who was then the defense secretary, know very well India's immense contribution in the culmination of the civil war. And I think somebody who is associated with the Ministry of Defence realizes how significant India is as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. And I think to that extent we need to remember what Mahinda Rajapaksa had said during his previous term, where he said that India is a relative and China is a friend. So when we talk of equidistant, please understand in South Asian context, relatives are for keeps, friends may come and go.
I must tell you what a Sri Lankan told me this. I hope you mind, Alok. He told me that when I compared India and China, he said, remember Mr. Parthasarthi, I may go to China for weapons, but I have to come to you for salvation because you are the land of the Buddha.
Okay, well, that's interesting. And add to that the development assistance that India has given. Sri Lanka is a major recipient of that developmental assistance. Is there any other country doing this kind of work, Alok Bansal?
See,
in Sri Lanka?
See, China has also invested a lot in Sri Lanka in the past. But as I said, Chinese investment creates problems, as we see in Hambantota.
It creates a debt trap.
It not only creates a debt trap, it actually, now China invokes sovereign guarantees, it's taken over control of Hambantota port. It's not very popular in that region. If you see, Hambantota is the constituency of Rajapaksas, as Ambassador Parthasarthi said, and the people there are very, very unhappy about China taking control of the thing. And that's where President Gotabaya said that they will rework the deal as far as Hambantota is concerned. Another factor which I wanted to tell you was that it is not only the Sri Lankan Buddhists who come to India for salvation. Please understand, Sri Lanka is a very unique country where people cutting across racial divide, people cutting across religious divide come to India for education, healthcare and for pilgrimage. Hindus also come to here, which is actually the second largest. Even there is a large chunk of Christians, Muslims also who come to India for healthcare and education and things like that. And that is where I think a road bridge to Lanka is what we should be striving for now. A train from Colombo to Gaya would be, to my mind, extremely popular if we can sell it out to Rajapakshas at this stage. As far as equidistant part is concerned, I think they may like to say so, because when Rajapakshas won, in fact, when Gotabaya won, there was a huge international reaction saying that Rajapakshas are close to China. Even in India, a lot of people said. But as I said, they realize how important India is, and President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's decision to meet the first foreign diplomat, first foreign minister was actually Dr. Jaishankar, and then deciding that India will be the first port of call for him when he sets his foot abroad is very, very significant, because it shows that he values India's friendship, he realizes India's significance, and from India's point of view, that's what we want. And what you saw today, that India has committed a large aid for Sri Lanka. We are one of the largest investors in Sri Lanka. The largest number of tourists who are visiting Sri Lanka today are Indians.
Yes.
So that's why I say, if we have better connectivity, and that is where I wanted a road connectivity, because that would probably give the alternative livelihood to the fishermen, which has become a contentious issue between the two countries. And the President also made a very nice humanitarian gesture where he said the boats that had been confiscated of the Indian fishermen will be released immediately, and that's a very, very welcome gesture. But these are some of the contentious issues which we need to resolve very soon, because otherwise they'll always be a perpetual irritant.
Ambassador Parthasarthi, how significant is the assertion by Prime Minister Narendra Modi that it is important for Sri Lanka to carry forward the national reconciliation process, including the implementation of the 13th constitutional amendment? Because there were certain reports that said that when our External Affairs Minister had gone over to Sri Lanka some days back, he had made the same assertion. How should this assertion be seen in recent times?
Look, I think the Sri Lankans will move at a pace which their domestic public opinion is content with. Right now, they are more concerned about the attack which took place on Easter Sunday, where Sinhala's Tamils were targeted, and this was by ISIS supported group. So I think, and incidentally, that is something which also concerns us in states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, the ISIS movements. So I think they have now come to the realization that with India, at least on terrorism, we know very well. In fact, one of the reasons why Mr. Sirisena lost so badly, I'm sorry, Mr. Premadasa lost so badly in the elections was the anger that despite India providing intelligence in advance, the government did nothing. So we have a lot of goodwill there. Most important, the cricket. One always underestimates cricket, but it's as much of a passion in Sri Lanka as it is here. Right now they're having some problems with their team, but otherwise they have had a team which won a World Cup. So they do have good players.
And their cricket team was attacked some time back, many years back in Pakistan. So, you know, what sort of overtures do you think the newly elected president is making towards Pakistan as well? I'll come to you, Alok Bansal, on that, considering that here on the one hand we are seeing that India has extended a line of credit of $50 million to Sri Lanka to fight terrorism, and on the other we are seeing reports that the Sri Lankan president has agreed to visit Pakistan as well.
Well,
see,
sorry,
we just need to understand that Gotabaya Rajapaksa has trained in Pakistan. While he was in military, he has stayed in Pakistan, has trained, so he has a lot of friends in Pakistan as well. We also need to understand that when Pakistan needed revival of the cricketing ties and international cricket in Pakistan, it was the Sri Lankan cricket team under the previous dispensation which actually went there. Even though large number of Sri Lankan cricketers refused to go, but the Sri Lankan cricket board managed to send a team there to play and revive international cricket in Pakistan. So it is not that, and in international diplomacy it is not never either or. Let's be very clear. I think even the Easter bombings, there are certain linkages which very clearly point that there were certain strands which take them to Pakistan or
that
ISI.
With every terror attack the world over.
I think they would realize it, but I think at this point of time Gotabaya does not want, I think, to give a signal that he is averse to visiting any other country, and he is totally indebted to India. So I think you will see a certain amount of shift which is undoubtedly feasible, because when the elections took place, a lot of people thought it as if it was a huge diplomatic disaster from India's point of view, because Rajapaksas were perceived as being anti-India at that point of time. And I think all these things have been proved wrong by President Rajapaksa deciding to come and visit India, because the perception was that President Maithripala Sirisena, when he won the election, that coalition that came about ensuring his victory was cobbled up by India. So there was a perception that Rajapaksas are anti-India. In fact, during Sirisena's tenure, a constitutional coup had taken place when he tried to appoint Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Prime Minister, and it created a lot of constitutional logjam in between. At that point of time also China had supported Rajapaksa. So the perception that international community had, as well as the media houses had, was that Rajapaksas are pro-China. So from that level he is deciding to come and visit India first, shows that there has been a significant movement. But to expect that he will not visit Pakistan, or he will not accept Chinese investment, I think will be very far-fetched at this juncture.
Right. Well, thank you, Ambassador Partha Sarthi and Alok Bansal, for having joined us on Newsnight tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's move on now. Ruckus in Lok Sabha continued for the third day running over Pragya Thakur's comment. On Friday, she was forced to tender an unconditional apology to the House after Speaker Om Birla's intervention. Here's more on that and what else transpired in parliamentary proceedings.
कि मैंने 27/11/2019 को एसपीजी बिल की चर्चा के दौरान नाथूराम गॉडसे को देशभक्त नहीं कहा, नाम ही नहीं लिया, फिर भी किसी को ठेस पहुंचती हो तो मैं खेद प्रकट करते हुए क्षमा चाहती हूँ. ठीक है.
बीजेपी एमपी प्रज्ञा सिंह ठाकुर थर्ड apology in parliament for her Nathuram Godse remark. An unrelenting opposition forced BJP's Pragya Singh Thakur to apologize in the Lok Sabha for a second time on Friday after rejecting a first apology as conditional. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla held an all-party meeting, after which, as decided, Pragya Thakur tendered an apology for the second time. Ruckus was also witnessed later, with the BJP seeking an apology from Rahul Gandhi for calling Pragya Thakur a terrorist.
राहुल गांधी के नाम पर नाखून कटा करके शहीद होना चाहते थे, लेकिन राहुल गांधी ने मर्यादा को तोड़ा, संविधान और व्यवहार को तोड़ा, और राहुल गांधी को हक नहीं है कि किसी सदस्य को, किसी आम नागरिक को भी आतंकी कह दें। इसके लिए उन्हें माफी मांगनी पड़ेगी।
Business was also transacted in Lok Sabha on Friday. A bill seeking to amend the 6-decade-old Arms Act was introduced in the Lok Sabha. It aims to enhance punishment for illegally possessing and making prohibited arms besides other charges. It aims at enhancing punishment for illegally possessing and making prohibited arms besides other changes. The Arms Amendment Bill makes provision that a person can have a maximum of 2 firearms as against the present norm of 3. The bill was introduced by the Minister of State for Home Affairs, G. Kishan Reddy. Responding to a question, Union Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan informed the Lok Sabha that the government has rolled out several schemes to increase the number of doctors in the country, and there will be no shortage of doctors in the next 5 to 7 years.
That in the next 5 to 7 years, we should be able to ensure that the number of doctors in the country is as per the WHO standards that are required.
In reply to another question in the Lok Sabha, Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar said planting trees is essential and the government is doing its best in this direction.
We are moving in the right direction, and we are every year make campaign for awareness of people and making them appeal well in advance of the festivals.
In the Rajya Sabha, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu suggested that Congress MP Jairam Ramesh form a committee comprising MPs to suggest concrete steps to check pornography on social media and other internet platforms which is adversely affecting children. The issue had been raised on Thursday by an AIADMK MP. With Parliament team, Newsnight desk, DD India.
On a day that Uddhav Thackeray officially took charge of the Chief Minister's office in Maharashtra, the Supreme Court also dismissed a plea challenging the post-poll alliance of the Shiv Sena, NCP and Congress to form the state government. The new CM put on hold the RA car shed project on a day when the Sena's mouthpiece Samna invoked the spirit of brotherhood between Uddhav and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But the BJP is in no mood to take it easy against its recently estranged ally, questioning its actual versus stated priority of proving majority on the floor of the House.
Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray taking charge at the Mantralaya. Addressing a press conference, he said that farmers are his priority and that work on the RA colony car shed will be suspended till further review.
मुंबईत जन्मलेला पहिला मुख्यमंत्री मी असेल.
I am the first CM who is born in Mumbai, so I am planning what all I can do for my city. Rest of all Maharashtra cities are also in my planning.
आणि केवळ मुंबईच नाही तर इतरही माझ्या राज्यातली शहर आहेत त्यांच्या तिथे सुद्धा काय करायचं हा विचार मी सुरू केलेला आहे.
The first chief minister from the Thackeray family, Uddhav Thackeray, leads a coalition with the NCP and Congress. 6 ministers, 2 from each party, took oath alongside Thackeray at the Shivaji Park on Thursday. There's no word yet on the portfolios. The NCP has not decided on the deputy chief minister either. A decision on farm loan waiver is also awaited.
कल पहली कैबिनेट थी और जो इम्पोर्टेंट विषय थे मेरे हिसाब से वो सामने आए थे, लेकिन किसानों की कर्ज मुक्ति की जो बात है मुख्यमंत्री जी ने कहा है उद्धव जी ने कि उनको 2 दिन चाहिए पूरा स्टडी करने के लिए, सरकार की आर्थिक हालत सब कुछ देखकर एक गुड न्यूज किसानों के लिए उद्धव जी देंगे.
In a clear assertion of the Maratha identity on the way to Mantralaya from Matushri, Uddhav Thackeray stopped at the Hutatma Chowk in South Mumbai and paid tributes to the martyrs. It honors the 105 members of the Samyukta Maharashtra Samiti who lost their lives while fighting for a separate Maharashtra state. Governor Koshyari has asked the Mahavikas Aghadi to prove its majority by the 3rd of December. Meanwhile, the former Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis questioned the priorities of the Mahavikas Aghadi government. In a tweet, he said, in the first cabinet meeting of the new government yesterday, they chose to discuss how to prove majority secretly instead of discussing on how assistance and relief can be given to farmers suffering from unseasonal rains. He also questioned the faith of the combine in their strength, adding that when the BJP has already announced to sit in the opposition and Mahavikas Aghadi has made so many claims that they have full majority, that to exhibiting in different ways, why this secrecy and fear? The BJP maintained Shiv Sena went against the people's mandate in joining hands with the NCP and Congress.
Uddhav Thackeray is being seen as an untouchable by the Congress leadership, which fears which fears that seeing by the side of Uddhav Thackeray, if Rahul Gandhi or Sonia were to be sharing a stage with Sonia Gandhi, this would be nothing but harakiri.
Meanwhile, Shiv Sena mouthpiece Samna carried editorial reaching out to Prime Minister Modi. I quote, Prime Minister Modi has congratulated the new government and Uddhav Thackeray and has expressed hope that Maharashtra will develop at a brisk pace under the leadership of Uddhav Thackeray. The centre's cooperation is needed for and to end farmers' distress in Maharashtra. The BJP-Shiv Sena relationship may be in trouble in Maharashtra politics, but the relationship between Narendra Modi and Uddhav Thackeray is that of brothers. Considering that the Prime Minister is for the entire nation and not just one party, why should there be bitterness against a government that thinks differently? Unquote. On another front, the Supreme Court dismissed a plea challenging the post-poll alliance of Shiv Sena, NCP and Congress to form government in Maharashtra. The bench maintained that in democracy, courts cannot curtail the rights of political parties to align with other parties. With inputs from Mumbai Bureau, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
The stage is all set for the first phase of polling on 13 assembly seats of 6 districts in Jharkhand tomorrow. Voting will take place from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. This will be the first of the 5 phases in which polling is to take place, insofar as the state assembly elections are concerned.
Arrangements are in place for the first phase of polling in Jharkhand. From training officials to security checks, nothing is being left to chance. In several far-flung and sensitive booths, helicopters have been used to ferry election officials as well as security forces. 13 constituencies spread over 6 districts, Chatra, Palamu, Gumla, Garhwa, Latehar and Lohardaga, will go to polls in the first phase in Jharkhand. Out of 4,892 booths, 1,790 have been declared most sensitive, while over 1,200 booths have been declared sensitive. Over 35,000 jawans from Central Security Forces have been deployed for Phase 1 polling.
हम लोगों ने इस 13 विधानसभा क्षेत्रों में 17 असिस्टेंट एक्सपेंडिचर ऑब्जर्वर लगाए थे। अगर उनके प्रयासों की बात करें तो हम लोग आज तक अभी तक 11 करोड़ 38 लाख रुपए का सीजर कर चुके हैं।
Talking of Palamu, there are 1,595 polling booths across 5 seats. All preparations are in place to ensure free and fair polling.
सुरक्षा की व्यवस्था से देखा जाए तो अति संवेदनशील और संवेदनशील बूथ हैं। उनमें करीब 9 से 11 बूथ ऐसे हैं जो संवेदनशील है और 424 बूथ हैं जो अति संवेदनशील है। और इस क्रम में जो भारत निर्वाचन आयोग की गाइडलाइंस हैं उन पर सुरक्षा व्यवस्था उपलब्ध कराने के लिए CPMF, फोर्स मल्टीप्लायर के तौर पर माइक्रो ऑब्जर्वर्स, वेबकास्टिंग, CCTV, वीडियोग्राफर, उन सभी को हम लोग रूटीन वेज में और डायरेक्शंस के अकॉर्डिंग डिप्लॉय करेंगे।
Election observers and officials on duty are being trained in their role as well as in handling EVMs. Security briefing as well as a hands-on training in detecting and tackling malfunctions in EVMs has been conducted.
मकबूल का प्रोसेस में भी कोई खराबी आ रहा है, जैसे सीयू खराब हो रहा है, सीयू का रिप्लेस करिए। मकबूल में बीयू खराब हो रहा है, बीयू का रिप्लेस, इंडिविजुअल रिप्लेसमेंट है, ऐसा नहीं कि पूरा सेट को करिएगा।
VVPATs will also be used at several polling booths.
इसका नाम है वोटर वेरिफाइबल ऑडिट ट्रेल। मतदाता अपने से सत्यापित भी किया, ऑडिट भी कर ले रहा है और वो एक चिन्ह भी छोड़ रहा है कि जिस पर उसने वोट किया। ये विश्वसनीयता की एक बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि हमारे हिंदुस्तान के लिए है।
All voters who've been issued electors' photo identity cards have to produce them at the polling station before casting their votes. In case they fail to do so, alternative photo identity documents can be used. The list of 11 documents is passport, driving license, Aadhaar card, PAN card, health insurance smart card, pension document with photograph, Mahatma Gandhi Narega job card, smart card issued by RGI under NPR, passbooks with photograph issued by bank or post office, official identity cards used by MPs and MLAs, service identity cards with photograph issued to employees of central and state governments, PSUs or public limited companies. Special arrangements have been made to ensure Divyangs as well as elderly can vote with ease.
जो हमारे विजुअली चैलेंज पर्सन्स हैं उनके लिए हम लोग डमी बैलेट शीट भी दे रहे हैं ब्रेल लिपि में। उनको ब्रेल लिपि में फोटो वोटर स्लिप दी जाएगी, उनको ब्रेल का एपिक कार्ड भी दिया जाएगा। और जो हमारे स्पीच एंड हियरिंग इम्पेयर्ड हैं उनके लिए हम लोगों ने साइन लैंग्वेज जानने के लिए स्काउट्स एंड गाइड्स के भी लोगों को आइडेंटिफाई किया, उनकी ट्रेनिंग कराई गई है।
In Latehar too, the security is tight. Security forces are conducting road checks. Surveillance teams are looking out for contraband items as well as cash or anything else that can prove to be a security threat. Several seizures have been made.
हर गाड़ी जो भी आता है उसका हम लोग रोक के जांच करते हैं कि कहीं उसमें किसी गलत प्रकार का कैश हो गया या कोई हथियार हो गया या कोई मादक पदार्थ हो गया, जो भी वैसी चीज जो चुनाव को प्रभावित करे उसका हम लोग जांच करते हैं और ऐसी अगर कोई चीज मिली जाती है तो उसको लोग प्रशासन को सुपुर्द करते हैं.
Apart from ensuring smooth conduct of polls, the Election Commission as well as the administration are laying great emphasis on voter awareness. Innovative ways like street plays and song and dance performances like this one in Gumla have been used as part of the sweep program to enthuse voters to exercise their franchise. With Abhishek Singh and Anuj Yadav, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
There is outrage over gang rape and murder of 27-year-old veterinary doctor in Hyderabad. Telangana police has arrested 4 accused in the case who will be now produced before court on Saturday. Meanwhile, the centre has issued guidelines to states calling for greater vigil to prevent atrocities against women.
A horrific case of crime against women has once again come to the fore. In Hyderabad, the body of a 27-year-old government veterinary doctor was found. The victim was allegedly raped, murdered and set ablaze by assailants in an underpass about 60 kilometers from Hyderabad. She had been returning home to Shamshabad from Gachibowli.
My sister called home late in the night and said that she felt scared of the people who have offered her to repair her scooter. It was an empty road and one person who took her scooter came back empty-handed saying that there is no mechanic to fix it. I told her to leave the bike wherever it is and stand at the toll gate for security. She also asked me to talk to her until somebody comes there, but after some time her phone was switched off and we could not contact her.
The police have arrested all the 4 accused and they will be produced in the court on Saturday.
Basing on the evidence collected on the CCTV, the human intelligence and also the clue scene and also on the human intelligence, we could arrest all these 4 people. 376 and 302 cases have been altered.
The centre said it will send an advisory to all the states to take precautionary steps to check crime against women in the wake of the murder of the veterinarian, in the wake of the murder of the young doctor in Hyderabad.
A veterinary doctor was raped and murdered in Hyderabad. I am speaking to state government and police to get culprits capital punishment. It's a matter of grave worry that a woman was subjected to such brutality. We'll give sufficient assistance from centre where needed.
The incident has sparked anger and outrage all across country and people are in one voice demanding stringent punishment for the culprits.
This is a heinous, brutal crime. A crime of rape and murder and gang rape. She also talks about being near some kind of a toll over there. What were the people at the toll doing? Were there no electricity, no light over there? What are the CCTV cameras there? Where is the patrolling police? What are they doing over there? Nothing.
It's shameful to the society. Being the human being, we can't imagine what happened yesterday to the educated and a responsible lady.
The lawyers in Hyderabad held demonstrations and decided for no one to take up the case for defense of the accused. The National Commission for Women has constituted an inquiry committee to look into the alleged killing of 27-year-old veterinarian of 27-year-old woman who was reportedly set on fire after being sexually assaulted in Hyderabad. In the Nirbhaya case, the Patiala House Court has issued a notice to Tihar jail. The notice has demanded the status of the 4 found guilty in the case in a bid to conclude the date of their hanging. The notice was issued based on a plea by the parents of Nirbhaya. Nirbhaya's parents claimed in their plea to the court that none of the 4 guilty in the case have any clemency or curative application pending before the Supreme Court.
तो मैं यही कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो भी ये कर सकता है या कोर्ट करे या सरकार करे या कोई करे, उनका जो भी अधिकार है उनको वार्निंग करे, एक समय का बाउंड करे कि नहीं इतने समय के अंदर आप सब कुछ करो, नहीं तो हम आपका डेट निकलेगा, आपको फांसी होगी.
A dedicated fund called Nirbhaya Fund was set up for the implementation of initiatives aimed at enhancing the safety and security of women in the country. But it has not taken off fully and the fund largely remains unutilized. And as a result, the crimes against women continue to happen. With Ramakant in Hyderabad, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah has stressed on the need to bring a change in people's perception about the police and vice versa. While addressing the concluding session of the All India Police Science Congress in Lucknow, he said that though law and order is primarily a state subject, the centre is making several efforts to ensure police reforms, modernization of police forces and policing, better forensic technology, and even making necessary changes to key laws such as the Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code and the Arms Act.
सीआरपीसी और आरपीसी की रचना तब हुई थी जब एक देश जो हमारे पर शासन करता था उसने उसके गुलाम देश के पास अपनी कानून और व्यवस्था का संभाला। उसकी प्रायोरिटी नागरिक नहीं था, उसकी प्रायोरिटी हमारा देश नहीं था, उनकी प्रायोरिटी अपना शासन संभालना था। अब हम स्वतंत्र हुए, हमारे अपने नागरिक, वो अप्रोच नहीं चल सकेगा और जब तक कानून नहीं बदलेगा, सीआरपीसी आईपीसी नहीं बदलेंगे, वो अप्रोच भी नहीं बदलेगा। मैं मानता हूं कि इसके अंदर आप सबने, हर राज्य ने, हर संघ प्रदेश ने और जिनको अनुभव है, चाहे वो आज अर्धसैनिक बल में तैनात हो, वो सभी ने कंट्रीब्यूट करना चाहिए और एक पवित्र प्रक्रिया की तरह हमारा सीआरपीसी आईपीसी का परिवर्तन होना चाहिए।
The 30th convocation ceremony of Sambhalpur University was organized today at Burla in Odisha. Principal Secretary to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, P.K. Mishra, attended the ceremony as the chief guest. Addressing students, P.K. Mishra said that they are stepping into a new phase of life at a time when there are immense possibilities and opportunities. He said the nation is witnessing a new sense of dynamism and awakening, and innumerable initiatives are being taken in line with the Prime Minister's vision of a new India. Referring to Prime Minister's vision of making India an economic superpower, P.K. Mishra said that PM has set a goal of becoming a $5 trillion economy by 2024 and asserted that the country is on track and fully committed to actualize PM's vision. He added that several fundamental path-breaking reforms have been undertaken by the government, which include introduction of insolvency and bankruptcy code and the implementation of goods and services tax. P.K. Mishra congratulated students and said the graduation ceremony is an important milestone in their life, but they must strive hard in future to achieve higher goals in their career.
You are entering a new phase in your life as we move towards the building of a new India, an India of peace, progress and prosperity for one and all. You will have unprecedented opportunities in all of this. Never forget your duty, your dharma. This is fundamental to our heritage and our values. It is what makes us who we are and is more relevant today than ever before. Also keep it in mind that you are entering a world which is ever changing and fast shrinking and changing faster than ever before. What you learn today will become obsolete tomorrow, and what you do today, somebody else in some other part of the world will do much better tomorrow. So you must keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the frontiers of knowledge.
The wedding season is on and there is some good news for those looking to buy gold jewellery. Union Consumer Affairs Minister Ramvilas Paswan announced today that a notification will be issued on hallmarking of all gold jewellery and artefacts on the 15th of January next year. Jewellers will get 1 year's time to get all their stock hallmarked. Those found selling gold without hallmarking after the 15th of January 2021 will be liable for prosecution of fine or both.
15 जनवरी को जो है 2020 को जो है अधिसूचना जो है नोटिफिकेशन जो है जारी कर दिया जाएगा। नोटिफाई करने के बाद जितने ज्वेलर्स हैं उनको क्या कहते हैं कहा जाएगा कि इसको जितना जल्दी से हो जो पुराना क्या कहते हैं कि है उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ करो या दोबारा बना करके उसमें जो है जो हॉल मार्किंग का क्या कहते हैं कि जो है शर्त उसको उसमें रखने का काम करो। 15 जनवरी 2021 को क्या कहते हैं कि वो मैंडेटरी हो जाएगा।
The centre says it has taken several steps to curb rising onion prices. The Consumer Affairs Minister said today that the centre is importing 1 lakh tons of the Indian kitchen staple. Strict measures are also being taken to crack down on hoarding, and the situation is being monitored closely from the top.
कुल मिलाकर के जो है हम लोग जो प्रयत्नशील हैं, कोशिश कर रहे हैं। हम लोगों ने सरकार की तरफ से परमिशन ले लिया है 1 लाख टन का। इसके लिए मानते हैं कि जैसा कि हमने कहा कि एक इंटर जो है मिनिस्ट्री सेक्रेटरीज की कमेटी ऑलरेडी क्या कहते हैं कि बनी हुई है। पीएमओ अपने लेवल से क्या कहते हैं इसको देख रहा है। होम मिनिस्टर की अध्यक्षता में क्या कहते हैं जो 5 मिनिस्टर्स हैं हम लोग, तो उनकी एक कमेटी बना दी गई है। उसकी कमेटी की बैठक क्या कहते हैं कि एक क्या कहते हैं कि जो है वो हो गई है। दूसरी बैठक क्या कहते हैं कि जल्द ही क्या कहते हैं कि जो है होने वाली है। वो होम मिनिस्टर क्या कहते हैं कि चेयरमैन हैं वही बुलाएंगे। तो हर दृष्टिकोण से क्या कहते हैं कार्रवाई क्या कहते हैं की जा रही है।
In business news, India's GDP growth has hit an over 6-year low of 4.5% in the July-September 2019 quarter. It was recorded at 7% in the same quarter last year and is also half a percentage point lower than the figure recorded in the previous quarter. This GDP growth data for the September 2019 quarter is the lowest since January-March of 2012-2013, when it was registered at 4.3%. The Reserve Bank had lowered the GDP growth projection for 2019-20 to 6.1% from the earlier forecast of 6.9%. In international news, several people were reportedly injured after an incident of stabbing was reported near the iconic London Bridge today as the police detained a person and cordoned off the area. Scotland Yard said that they are in the early stages of dealing with an incident at the London Bridge. It said a man had been detained and it is believed that a number of people have been injured. The Metropolitan Police tweeted that one man has been shot by the police. London Ambulance Service declared it as a major incident. London Bridge was one of the areas targeted by an ISIS-claimed terrorist attack in June 2017 when 11 people died as terrorists went on a stabbing spree after ramming a van into pedestrians. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tweeted, "I am being kept updated on the incident at London Bridge and want to thank the police and all emergency services for their immediate response." In sports news, a ruthless India raced to a 2-0 lead in the Davis Cup tie for the loss of just 2 games as Ramkumar Ramanathan and Sumit Nagal toyed with their teen rivals from Pakistan on Friday. In a mismatch of epic proportion, Ramkumar defeated the 17-year-old Mohammad Shoaib in just 42 minutes in the opening singles. Sumit Nagal then earned his first ever Davis Cup win, beating Hufaiza Mohammad Rahman 6-0, 6-2 in the second singles, which lasted 64 minutes. And we now leave you with this melodious number sung by Russian military cadets in Moscow. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.